welcome to my channel again. I'm finally here today to be talking about something that I have got so many requests to film it, but I wasn't feeling comfortable enough to talk about it just because like under personal circumstances I wasn't able to get into dental school before my TOEFL has expired, and I've decided that I will film a video if I get also another high score the second time around. And so here I am today. I'm going to be talking to you of how hopefully you can get 111 plus on your TOEFL exam. So first of all, I'm going to be sharing some of the books that I've used that helped me get a high score and that had a very good practice questions. Now, the first book that I've used, which is the official guide to the TOEFL IBD test by ETS. It's a really good book. However, the questions are it's a good book for an introduction to the exam. You'll be able to read about the questions, what is exactly the TOEFL exam. It will give you a clear idea about every question you have in your mind about the TOEFL exam. However, the questions and the practice tests are very, very simplified, that they are not like what you're gonna be doing in the exam. So it's a good book to start with, but it's not the only book that you need to get a high score in this exam. There are two other books, which are the TOEFL IBT Volume 1 and Volume 2. They're very helpful because the practice tests that they have are more challenging in a way that they're going to be exactly like the exam. The first time I read both of these books, I was thinking that these are very hard questions and the exam will not be like that, but to be honest, the exam was exactly like the questions that I've seen in the IBT Volume 1 and 2 books. So I thought they were helpful in that regard. So those were actually the only material that I've used, and for any other practice I would be going Google some extra practice questions or search it on YouTube, because for the speaking section I found so many questions on YouTube. They were also just helpful for me to practice more. So now I'm going to be just talking about tips on each section, how that can help you improve your skill and that can aid in hopefully help you getting a higher score. The first section I want to talk about is the speaking section, since a lot of people struggle with that. So for the speaking section, honestly, the only thing you have to do is to practice as much as you can. But the other thing that you want to put in your mind while practicing is that you don't have a computer that can give you a score or that can tell you that, oh, you did well or you took this score. So that's the only part that is challenging about this section. And my advice for you is that you need to record yourself and you need to listen to yourself talking. Now that could help partly because at the end we tend not to judge ourselves. So sometimes I would be listening to myself and I'd be thinking, oh, I did very good. But then when I let someone else listen to the part, they'd be giving me criticizing me more and giving me just being more judgmental on my answer. So I thought it's very helpful to have somebody else listen to your record rather than just you. And it's really helpful if that person don't know you very well, because they would be able to give you exactly give you what's wrong with your answer exactly and how you can improve it. So if you're maybe working with people and you're comfortable enough to let them help you with this, that'd be great. Otherwise, it could be just like a family member or a friend. Anyone could help you by just listening to these records, and they'll let you know how you did. Now, the second thing that helped me tremendously is that I followed a template. I felt that a template was essential just because it kind of organized my thoughts, and I was able to build a structure in which I don't have to worry about anymore. I don't have to worry about how I'm gonna start the conversation. I don't have to worry about how I'm gonna connect the words together. I'm just gonna be putting down the template that I have, and then I'm gonna be filling the gaps with whatever information that I've had from the conversation or from my mind for the personal choice question. So the template that I've used is from, there's a website called TOEFL Resources, and then there's a person that does YouTube videos. His name is Michael. I highly recommend his templates. They're very helpful, and they really helped me a lot getting a high score in the speaking section and in the writing section as well. So if you have time and if you are lost between what to do for the speaking section, having templates in your mind and following that precisely and letting someone else help you by listening to how you did and how you practice, I think those two factors would be very helpful for you to get a higher score. Now the second part I want to talk about is the reading part. For the reading part, I would really suggest that you practice from TOEFL books. I know that I've heard a lot of people saying that you could just read newspapers or read books or read something else that is not related to the exam, but this won't help you at all in my opinion. I feel that the TOEFL exam does not measure your ability to speak with other people or to communicate or to be able to read a newspaper, but it just kind of measure your ability to perform those tasks that are required by this exam. So the more you adapt your brain to read from TOEFL exams and from practice questions, the more you will be able to answer those questions perfectly and get a higher score. The other thing that helped me a lot in getting my score in the reading section was actually 30 out of 30. And I feel that there are two factors that helped me getting this score. The first one is that I practiced so much in a way that I became so fast that at the day of the exam, I was 4 minutes earlier to finish all the questions, and that gave me time to go back to the questions that I felt that I didn't do well at and read them over and over again until I was able to get the right answer, even though there were some things that I didn't understand or I didn't necessarily know what they were talking about, but repeating it over and over again and knowing that I have the time to repeat them helped me get 30 out of 30. The second thing that helped me is that there are so many words that I didn't know before the exam, like so many vocabularies, but there's a website called, I hope I'm gonna pronounce that right, it's called Magoosh, Magoosh, and they have cards, different cards of different words that level from easy to very hard, and these cards they contain over like 1,000 words with different meanings, and I memorized them all before I went to the exam. Now some of them I already knew, but so many words I didn't understand them, and most of them came during the exam. Not all of them came in a question, but some of them came within the reading part, and they were essential words for me to understand the rest of the talk. And so these words are very helpful. They could be very beneficial for you if you memorize them and if you make sure that you have them in your mind when you go for the exam. So the last tip that I have for the reading section is to focus a lot on the last question in each part, in each reading section, because I remember that it was the question that I'd be so confused with, just because I have to go read the whole thing again in order to be able to answer it. But it's also the question that will help you get a higher score if you do it right. And so I highly recommend that you focus on the last question in each part. Now for the writing part, my only advice for the writing, well actually I have two advices. The first one is also to follow a template, and the template is also available on the TOEFL Resources website. The second tip is to practice every day for the writing. especially if you are like me. I don't have a job where I write anything down. My brain is not used to thinking about like personal situations and talk about them in details, and then spend so much time writing over 300 words about something that maybe I'm not very familiar about. And practicing every day helped me adapt my brain to this like system, to this situation where I'm writing down about something. um, I'm not It's not something that I do every day. Doing that, changing this habit to doing something every day and doing the writing every day helped me get a higher score. So what helped me also is writing down the words that has the same meaning, and I was able to use them both in the speaking section and in the writing section. So I had like, I think 3 or 4 pages of different words that I could think of, maybe like important and essential and things like that. I've written them down and I've collected them from different people and from the TV and from different books, and I made sure that I read them before the exam so that I don't make my writing sound plain or sound that I'm repeating the same word over and over again. I wanted everything to be organized and to be like robust and to have a better like well structured with different words. So I felt that has helped me as well. The final section that I would like to talk about is the listening section, and for that part, my only advice is to, whenever you're practicing for the listening section or if you are in the exam, you need to write down everything you're listening to, just everything, even if you have no idea what they're talking about, even if you think you don't know how to write this word, just write it down however you imagine, and you'll be able to answer the challenging questions, because in the listening section it's one of the easiest part, and so most of the questions are going to be direct and you'll be able to answer them even without go through your notes. However, if you want to get a higher score and if you're aiming to get above 100, you need to write everything down so that you can go back for the questions that are more challenging. I remember in my first exam, they were talking about baking and how people used flour for baking, and for some reason my brain just froze when they were talking about flour, and the only flour I could think about instead of the actual flour that can clearly be used for baking and for making bread, I was thinking of the garden flowers, and I was so confused. Why would they use flowers for baking and for making bread? But I didn't care. I just wrote everything down, and I was confused, but I didn't focus on what they were talking about, but I just wrote everything down. And when the question came in, the word flour was already spelled out as FLOUR, and I was able to answer the question by going back through my notes, because I couldn't even remember what they were talking about because I was so confused and so lost with something else. So I feel that writing down everything will really help you get a higher score. So these are like all the tips that I have for the TOEFL. If you have like any questions or any concerns, and I'll be more than happy to answer them all. And thank you for watching, and hope to see you next time.